All right, we are here. We're all set. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us tonight for our Social Media Success for Small Publishers webinar brought to you by the Longtail Alliance. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us, and we're really excited for this presentation tonight. So we'll give you a little bit of an idea of what the Longtail Alliance is if you're new here, followed by Jeff Fryer's presentation about social media for small publishers, and then we'll take some time for questions at the end. If you do have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat window at any time, and we'll round them up at the end of the presentation. So the Longtail Alliance is a specialized part of the Interactive Advertising Bureau that is dedicated to helping small publishers reach their business goals. We've been around for 5 years, and we offer free online resources, events, webinars for web publishers who make under $1 million in advertising revenue. And in addition to our online events and resources, we also host an annual fly-in in Washington, D.C., which some of our members came to. And that is a time where we put members in front of elected officials to educate them about issues facing small publishers. The fly-in serves to educate members as well as through a day of relevant programming and networking events. And we're always open to your feedback and suggestions for making the organization better. So feel free to join the conversation on Facebook, LinkedIn. You could also learn more about the fly-in and membership by visiting longtailalliance.com. And you can feel free to reach out to us here on the webinar and on our social channels like Twitter and Facebook, or by emailing longtailalliance@iab.net. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Jeff Fryer. And Jeff is the social media manager at the IAB. He was also a speaker at this year's Longtail Alliance fly-in. His presentation was so popular that we invited him to refine it a bit based on member feedback and present it here tonight as a webinar. So if you're on Twitter and you're tweeting about the webinar tonight, you can connect with @jfryer2000 and @IABLTA, and you can use the hashtag IABLTA to share your thoughts about the presentation. And as a reminder, we'll be taking questions at the end of the webinar today. So if you have any questions or thoughts you'd like to share with us, feel free to put them in the chat window and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. So thank you, Jeff, for being here, and welcome.
Thank you, Jess. Hi, everyone. Thank you for asking me back from the fly-in to do this webinar, and thank you for taking the time to be here. I'm going to go through a bunch of slides here, but what I really want to do is open a dialogue after this with a Q&A. So just give me a few minutes. It'll take about 20 minutes, and then I want to open up the questions. And I know many of you are muted, but at some point there will be videos later on, so you may want to have your computers turned up. But let's start by finding some common ground here. What are your concerns? So here are the top challenges I hear from small publishers like you all. One, what do I choose? There are so many social media platforms. I don't know what the right things are to pick, what to do for each. I'm a bit overwhelmed by it. Two, how do I manage my time? I have a busy schedule as it is, no money to hire anyone. I can't find the time to balance all this. Three, monitoring. How do I know what's working so I can do more of it? And I assume that there's some major head nodding here that folks can relate to some of these, so let's talk about them. One thing you may not know is that social networking has actually been around since the 1930s with the Notificator, which allowed Londoners to leave messages for friends on sort of robot message boards for a small fee. The Notificator was kind of the first predecessor of Twitter in many ways, but mostly a novelty. I mean, look at it now, what a difference 73 years of technology makes. Some improvements. It's, Twitter is now free, location independent, and messages can be viewed longer than 2 hours. Fast forward to today. We've long reached a point in 2013 where no one can say they don't need social media and get away with it. Even if you have a great website or blog, you're cheating yourself if you're not on social media, which is why you guys are here. The changes that search engines like Google and Bing are making to take more and more social cues into consideration keep on increasing. It's not just about creating a Facebook page so you can share your content and engage with fans on your own terms either. It's also about consistently creating content that people naturally want to share on Facebook and on other social media, which can then show up in their friends' search results. So with an active social presence, your content will appear closer to the top of the page in search results. And it's important because the path to purchase now is more like the pretzel to purchase. So climb is great, but it's equally important not to fall behind, or else it's certain you will lose significant traffic, conversions, and most importantly, people's eyeballs see your content by not participating in the social exchange of information. So why is social media such an important asset? Let's look at some stats. Google's +1 button is used 5 million times a day. That means it's the fastest growing social widget on the entire web. Americans spend 441 minutes each and every month using Facebook on their mobile phones. 12% of users have looked for deals on social media using their smartphones. Nearly half of social media users say Facebook has the greatest impact on their buying behaviors, but Pinterest buyers actually spend more money more often on more items than any of the top 5 social sites. Companies that use Twitter generate double the amount of leads than companies who don't. People are most likely to engage with branding content that has pictures or status updates and sort of a multimedia function. Nearly a third of SMBs say acquiring and engaging with new customers is the primary goal of using social media, and lead gens and conversions is actually second. And a new IAB UK study that just came out found 90% of consumers backed a brand after interacting via social media. Social media is incredibly important. So how can you, as a small business, take advantage of this engagement within a reasonable time frame and guidelines, reach your customers, and stay competitive? Here's what I think you might want to know about what's going on today in the social media marketplace and 10 tips for you to succeed in it. Number 1, relax. Take a deep breath. For those just starting out, social media doesn't have to be all-consuming. It may not take as much time as you fear. In fact, 78% of marketers spend as little as 6 hours a week focused on social media saw increased traffic. Keep your social media strategy simple, and you'll actually give it a chance to be more effective. You can devote as little as 30 minutes a day to your efforts. You start getting traction, you can boost the 30 to an hour. But don't worry about devoting a lot of time at the beginning because, frankly, you could risk getting discouraged. When it's done right, social media is an organic experience that builds slowly. There can be quick wins and immediate results, but by and large, the benefits come over time through slow and purposeful engagement that allows people to get to know you and what you have to offer. Goals. Let's start with the ending at the beginning. What are your goals? If business goals aren't dictating your social media activities, you are wasting your time, effort, and money. Your goals should dictate how you organize your daily activities or short-term tactics. So it doesn't matter how many times you update Twitter or what hashtags you use if you don't understand why you're using Twitter in the first place. Don't let shiny new technology get in the way of what's most important. You need to align your goals and value propositions to what people care about first. So now that you've looked at your goals, it's time to look at you, the brand. Let's look at your brand as a persona. Would this person be your friend? Give your customers a reason to love your brand. People just need a reason to believe. They want to be entertained and informed by your marketing efforts. Effective brands convey that their products can enhance someone's life and not just hawking your goods like some salesman like this guy.
Baseball's the t-shirt. Baseball's the coloring book. Baseball's the lunchbox. Baseball's the breakfast cereal. Baseball's the flamethrower. The kids love this.
But even purveyors of the shorts know that your audience is not active at all hours of the day. When is just as important as what you post. So when are they going to your website? What days of the week do you see the largest increase in your YouTube videos? Where are they going? Why? How can I keep doing what works? You can spend an hour each week just going through the regular data from Google Analytics, from Facebook, YouTube, and they'll help you break it down. I encourage you to embrace your inner detective there. Now to start, it helps to understand how each platform actually has a different ideal audience. Let's take a brief look at this breakdown. Now you can use this to determine which social media platforms align with your objectives. For example, if you're trying to reach a female audience and your business lends well to pictures and images, you might want to consider Pinterest. And actually, don't sleep on Pinterest. For all the attention that Twitter gets, you can see that Pinterest has near the same amount of internet users who use it. And to an audience that skews quite different than the others, 80% female, primarily young women from the Midwest. What's not reflected in this chart is a 100-page Pew study that came out a few weeks ago that teens are somewhat winning on Facebook and are actually using Twitter and Instagram. They feel it's almost a burden to have a presence on Facebook, where adults increasingly are, and drama, clicks, and peer stress. So if you want to reach teens, you should look more outside of Facebook and focus on Twitter and Instagram. And speaking of Twitter, you can see here that African Americans lead the way on Twitter and Instagram. The reason for this is that African Americans are more likely to own a smartphone and access to mobile consumerism at 54% versus 44% of whites. So this goes back to knowing your audience. Know the audience and tools you're looking to target, but when's the best time to post? And is it the same for every social network? Here are the optimal times for sharing on social channels based on click-through rate. And these are Eastern Standard Times here. Now, as you may have guessed looking at these, there is high click-through rate for when people have the most free time. Think about it. Go through your day. Aren't you checking your email when you wake up and watching funny pictures and videos on Facebook near the slowing end of the week? Then casually back online after dinner and the kids have gone to bed? Now, here you'll see Friday is kind of a dead zone in most social networks. It's actually optimal for someone like Tumblr, which thrives on that. This is exactly the sort of LOL, I need this week type of creativity. And, of course, some social platforms like Google Plus actually deserve their own call-out here. So that's what I'm going to do. Google Plus. Many people use Facebook and Twitter for SEO, but you should pay particular attention to G+ as a huge opportunity. G+ has such a powerful effect on Google search, not just because it's a Google product, but because of the very construct of what it is. It represents far more than Google's attempt to get into the game to compete with Facebook and Twitter. It's actually the unification of all of Google services layered in everything to do with a common social layer. Now, while Google uses data to better personalize advertising for users, here's what makes a difference for you. Google treats Google Plus profile and pages just like regular websites when it comes to search. That means G+ pages have PageRank. That's right. When it comes to search authority, G+ profiles can be just as powerful as any web page. That means not only should you be using G+ for SEO, you should be using it to do your SEO. What's more is that unlike other social media posts that show up in search, Google Plus posts can retain their ranking indefinitely. Now here's an example of how H&M comes up. Now, I picked this because David Beckham is a well-known international star. He just recently retired. So H&M is aligned with David Beckham and has a lot of content surrounding it, as you can see. In other words, simply due to the fact that H&M is on Google Plus and active on there, I now see lots of extra content related to their brand simply because they posted to Google Plus, and it's vaguely related to the search term I've used. Now, once you build out a Google Plus profile and page as I recommended, you can also connect to other Google products in the universe, such as your YouTube channel, verify it on your website. Thus, you can draw them all together and exponentially multiply their traffic power. Now, try it out for yourself. If you don't, you frankly lack one precious ranking factor. And right now, as a small publisher, you want to have anything and everything you can get your hands on in order for you to rank, and rank well. Simply put, Google Plus affords businesses like you guys, of all sizes really, the opportunity to expand reach and influence online like no other social network. And it's a doorway into Google that they rarely open so freely. So now that we've looked at some approaches, including Google, it's time to establish a schedule. Now here's a potential example. I know many of you use WordPress and there are other good plugins, but don't drive yourself nuts. The idea is to force yourself to have an editorial calendar that's as familiar to you as your website posting, and it's consistent. So what should be in the back pocket of these conversations with the calendar? The conversations should actually be focused on the content. Now you may have heard this phrase, content is king, but marketing is queen, and she runs the household. Well, sort of. Content is king, but the queen is actually engagement. An engaged community will give you the entire kingdom. What I mean by that is written posts are great, but multimedia content can often be better. Get creative. Produce a cartoon. Put it on Pinterest. Create a 6-second Vine. Do a podcast. Allow your audience to consume your content in different ways, and they will appreciate it. Look, I know creating content is the most labor-intensive task when executing a social media strategy. It's a quick pace of content that you publish and consume per minute, and it's tough to stay on top of the news feed, but you can schedule different posts to different social networks using social media management dashboards. Speaking of dashboards and tools, I'd be remiss if we didn't go over some of the essential ones to help you manage your social media. Now, how do we write on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr and still maintain our sanity and abilities to get the content done? Here are some good social media management programs available, many of which are free. And there are 4 that I want to highlight here. Hootsuite, and TweetDeck. Now, Hootsuite is on the top and TweetDeck is on the bottom. They're the most popular programs that people use to manage their social media. They both let you simultaneously post on multiple networks, do live streams, retweets, hashtags, scheduling across numerous accounts. But there are some differences. Hootsuite on the top, there can add in not only Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Foursquare, auto-schedule, support multiple players, integrated apps, but it comes at a price. The more things you want to add in, the more it'll cost you. Whereas TweetDeck is actually owned by Twitter. Its primary advantage is that it's always free and a little faster on refreshing the tweets. So if you're a power player with multiple accounts, Hootsuite is a solid way to monitor and engage. But if you're just focused on the big 2, Facebook and Twitter, TweetDeck is a great start-off model. Buffer. So Buffer lets you buffer tweets individually by adding posts and distributing them at times you set. The reason why I love it is that, as you can see, it tracks the clicks, retweets, and potential views based on those retweets. And many social media managers are data nerds at heart, so that's exciting to me. Now you'll see on the right-hand side there, it says a schedule. Now the way you can come up with a schedule is by using this 4th tool called Twiriad. So Twiriad actually helps you select the time for your tweet schedule. It refers to your last 1,000 tweets. You can see my tweets. People respond to me outside traditional hours, so early in the morning, sort of late at night, and when they've mentioned or retweeted me. And you can go back and, again, use those times with your buffer and set it up automatically. Now that you have some management tools, don't forget people want to share content that's remarkable. So it's also important to develop content that consumers will want to piggyback off of. Don't forget to focus on how to turn those experiences into amazing content and make it easy for not only you to share, but your audience to share in a positive way. Timing plus content ultimately makes you more awesome. Now, on the other side of positive awesomeness, let's address something that small businesses need to be concerned with now more than ever: negativity. So no matter who you are or what you do, you're going to experience negative comments from time to time. I deal with this all the time. IAB's a big target. And also when I was a consultant to small businesses, one asked me if I could just simply wipe their comment off the internet, to which I had to let them know that's not really possible. You're never going to avoid negative comments. They come with the territory. And this is an example of what not to do. You may have heard of this. It was on the most epic brand meltdown ever from the TV show Kitchen Nightmares. Now, on the right-hand side is what to do. My overall recommendations here to put a plan in place, make sure you act quickly when it happens, to attempt to limit damage while satisfying the complaints. If you do those things, you can actually handle negativity in social media. Now that you've gathered the right content and laid out your plans for posting and emergencies just in case, ask yourself one very important question.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
So Peter from Family Guy is right. If you can answer who the hell cares, and the who cares is someone other than you, you are finally ready to go and to attack. And along the way, keep in mind some of these social do's and don'ts. Many of these relate to your brand voice, knowing who you are and knowing who your audience is, and being consistent and truly authentic. Now to recap my top 10 tips: relax, look at your goals, understand brand you, look at when, where, why, and how people are actually engaging with your content. Put together a calendar. Content actually equal conversations. Ask yourself, who the hell cares? Get ready to attack, and keep in mind some do's and don'ts. And finally, if there's one tweetable thing I want to get across, it's this. Social media is not a megaphone. It's a telephone. Social media provides people and businesses, just like you, a new way to connect and talk to people. You can do social media, even if no one calls you a Twitter guru or Pinterest expert, by understanding what your audience wants, the tools and tricks for a creative repertoire to get them to trust you more, stick around longer, and see what else you have to offer, and demand to see more. Social media can fuel that demand. Pull your audience in with engaging messages so that they want to be part of your passions, interests, and your world. And thank you for letting me be a part of yours today. And with that, I'd like to actually end my presentation and open up the questions and answers right now. And that's hashtag IBLTA, and my Twitter is jfryer2000.
Great. Thank you very much, Jeff, for all of that. I think I was on mute for a second. Sorry about that. So we have a couple questions here, and if anybody wants to ask another one as we're addressing these, feel free. First question, this presentation will be available. It will be recorded, and we will send you an email with the link to download the recording after this is over. So if you're here and you're registered, we have your email address, so we'll send it that way. Another question specifically to social media, wondering what do you think about Facebook advertising? So if somebody has a Facebook page, how do they know if they should boost their post or if they should boost their page? Is there any specific Facebook advertising tips that you would have?
Okay. Yeah. If you typically reach, say, 30 to 40% naturally with these posts, congratulations. You don't need much of a reason to do Facebook advertising or boosted posts. You're already doing a good job there. But because of EdgeRank's algorithm, most people only get 10% of their Facebook fan base. That's actually where Boost My Post comes in from Facebook. If your reach is below 10%, you can get Facebook to boost your posts. One of the main reasons I see promoted posts as a good option in your marketing mix is to give your engagement a boost, literally an actual boost, to reconnect with fans who haven't seen your posts in a while. Facebook treats it as new content and feature it in their news feeds. It's kind of like the old NBC slogan, if you haven't seen it, it's new to you. So if you have the budget, and it really doesn't take that much money, your money will go significantly further than just the organic traffic naturally at 10%. So it is something to consider in the advertising model.
Can you talk about what Google Plus Circles for Small Business pages are and what they mean as opposed to Google Plus personal profiles? Maybe you can just kind of like go over the differences and how small businesses might use Google Plus.
Sure. So in many ways, you can think of, if you're not familiar with the Google Plus pages, you can think of it as the difference between a personal profile on Facebook and a business page on Facebook as well. But what Google Plus enables you to do is to take those posts that you as a business put in the same way that you would Facebook, and you're able to add hashtags, you're able to add videos in there, there are communities and groups that you can be a part of, and most importantly for your traffic, when someone searches for your page, and searches for a search term, your page and your post will naturally come significantly higher and on the ultimate page one than if you didn't have traffic there directly at all. So the way I sort of view it is as an SEO monster, that the posts that you're able to put there, which are related to your brand, maybe it links back to your website, maybe it has a YouTube video, it ultimately drives your brand and your authorship, which you can then link back to your site, and thus taking your traffic up significantly. So for people that aren't as familiar with it as a whole and are just sort of putting their toe in, I like to think of it as the difference between a Facebook personal, where you're speaking casually to either people you know or to a niche community, and then understanding for the larger business page who you're trying to reach as a whole.
Have any specific resources that you know about for people who want to set up a Google Plus page for their business? I know that Google has some of its own resources, but I don't know if you've seen specific ones that we could share. Maybe we could send some out after the webinar too, but you know of any?
Oh, you mean how, like a how-to, or?
Right, like a how-to guide and how to set up one from your own profile, and then just how to use it. Some people have never used Google Plus before.
Yeah, we could. The Longtail Alliance could. We'll put something up on the website. There's some good links that are out there. Some good sort of how-tos and to getting started, because there are some sort of minor things behind the wall that can really make significant traffic. For example, making sure that if you have a YouTube channel, that your Google Plus is connected on that, as your videos will automatically go to that page. Making sure that the code is on your website so that the traffic normally pulls through there and you're a verified author. So there are these sort of minor things that there are some good guides that we can put up later on the Longtail Alliance website.
I thought this was an interesting one. So how do you stay in the loop on social media news and trends? I mean, there are so many changes happening all the time, especially with Facebook and new tools popping up. Even Pinterest is still relatively new. And I know that at the Longtail Alliance, we do talk a lot about staying on top of trends and for small publishers and advertising. And what about social media? How can people know what's going on?
Good question. Social media does seem to be moving really fast. It's easy to make yourself feel that you don't know about a new tool development. My favorite lately is actually LinkedIn as a start. It has a terrific news product called LinkedIn Today, where you can select different channels for the industry that calls to you. But if you don't like spending your little spare time trying to find these sites or social media pundits, I recommend setting up a subscription to a couple different RSS feeds or emails so the news come to you. Some good sites that come to mine, or you can even like them on Facebook as well, are Mashable, Read Write Web, The Next Web, Social Media Today, Social Media Examiner. And I would also definitely recommend SmartBrief. The IAB SmartBrief is a great aggregation of digital news, but there's also one that's specific to just social media SmartBrief, and you can Google that as well. So there are a number of ones out there. Mashable, TechCrunch, The Next Web, and Social Media Examiner are probably the ones that I use on a daily basis, and I pull them in from RSS feed, Twitter feed, and on Facebook as well. So that way you don't have to spend as much of your time trying to hunt them down, and the content will come to you.
And a list out of great sources too, that would probably be helpful. And just as a reminder, we do a weekly wrap-up, or sorry, a monthly wrap-up of great links that we found around the internet on the Longtail Alliance blog. So if you're looking to just check in once in a while and see the most important things from the month, you can find them on the blog. So one more question, and if anybody else has any more questions, now is the time to type them in. Do you see any up-and-coming trends with social media, either specific to tools or with engagement, anything related to content, or just general trends that you've seen with the technology in social?
Well, the largest one I'll point out is mobile video. The recent introduction of apps like Vine and Instagram's video feature show the social media landscape is broadening even further into video content, mobile content, and mobile video content. And consumers are spending more and more of their time on mobile. Actually, earlier today, MTV actually unveiled the nominees for their VMAs, the 2013 Video Music Awards, the Video of the Year, via Instagram and Vine. And they'll actually be rolling out new Instagram and Vine videos highlighting nominees every couple of hours. They're kind of the first award show I know of that's doing it. that announces it via these short video platforms. And so with mobile video, you know, the old adage that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but a video is worth 1,000,000, I think that holds true in that we know consumers are spending more and more of their time on mobile, and sometimes that picture doesn't really sort of convey the experience. So that's one trend I would look towards seeing if you could replicate in some way. You don't always have to set up a big, expensive, you know, a camera and do a shoot that way. Sometimes people are looking for a little more human experience, and it's another tool that you can use to tell your story and share your passions. Do it on a zero budget and do it in the spur of the moment. So I would start experimenting with Vine, which is 6 seconds, and Instagram, which is, I believe, 12 seconds of video, and seeing what you can creatively come up with. And people will respond to your creativity.
Question, how do you determine when you're putting out content either on your website or through social channels, how do you know if promotions that you're doing are going to seem too spammy? How do you decide when you can promote your company and the stuff that you're doing without being annoying to your followers?
Good question. It's actually a question I get a lot. So legal stuff aside, you know, spam is, you know, subjective. It depends on your expectation. The way I sort of see it, spam is constantly selling to your audience without a focus on their needs. Promotion is more thought out, creative, more importantly, provides value. Promoting is giving something of value without asking them to buy. And when you promote correctly, as compared to spamming someone, you're always thinking of the solution rather than the service to your audience. And you can think of it as spam is what's in it for me, and promotion is what's in it for them. So if you keep that in the forefront of your mind, what's in it for them, then you'll be much more likely to succeed and less spammy. It's all about them and wanting them to connect with your content, but it's all about them and not as much spam push out.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jeff, for your time. We'll be sending out a link to this webinar, and we'll provide some resources as well that Jeff had talked about and that we had talked about in the questions. And you can always follow us on IABLTA on Twitter, or just send us a quick email if you have any feedback or any other questions at longtailalliance@iab.net. And we look forward to the next webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you guys very much for your time. I look forward to talking to you guys soon.